beer to burgers to banking. When it comes to making adverts that use South Africa to sell their product, what do the best of them have in common? We spoke to the Saturday Star's media marketing journalist, Brandon Seery, about who's got the formula exactly right.
Brendan, what are the pros and cons of using South Africa to sell a brand?
Well, I think the obvious advantage would be that everybody relates to patriotism and everybody feels patriotic. Everyone loves their country. The danger is that if you push it too far, you're messing with national symbols. So you can run the risk of alienating your target audience. You can be seen as someone who's exploiting something for commercial gain. So it's very difficult, and it's a very fine line you've got to tread when using national symbols and patriotism to market a brand.
Which brands have got it right?
I think most brands were, over the World Cup particularly, used the national symbols very well. I think MTN with the Ayoba campaign, it's not a national symbol, but it is something uniquely South African. I think the BP set of ads where you had the various taxi drivers versus the divas, they got it right. A number of the banks also did, because they used nationalism and patriotism in a very responsible way. And I don't think that there was anyone that really did it badly.
What are the components of the adverts that you think consumers respond to?
Well, I think firstly they respond to uniquely South African symbols, and I think also very strongly to humour. We love to laugh at each other and at ourselves, and I think that's what sets us apart as South Africans, is our ability to laugh at ourselves. And I think one of the things that I'm quite saddened about is the fact that these days we're seeing more and more foreign ads on our TVs, not because our ads are bad. In fact, our ads are as good or better than anything else you'll get around the world. But I think a lot of companies are struggling with budgets, so they're bringing in foreign ads which are cheaper. And I think when people do respond, as you said, to ads, it's because it touches something deep inside of them that says, you know what, we're not like anyone else. Using a Kwaito type soundtrack, for example, cuts through any form of age and race. It's uniquely South African type of music. And people always, whatever they are, whatever they do, wherever they live, are always moved by music.
Music may be one of the most powerful ways to elicit an emotional response, but that's just one of the key ingredients. Other brands have aligned themselves with some of South Africa's official sporting teams like Bafana Bafana, the Springboks and the Proteas. But is the return on investment compromised when the team is not winning?
Now, the likes of Castle Lager, Absa, Standard Bank have enjoyed a long history with sport and advertising and patriotism. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's an obvious match for Castle, because when anyone watches sport, they're consuming their product. Less so would you'd think with a bank, but I think Absa and both Standard have a long association, because it obviously gives them an association with success. The danger, of course, in any sports sponsorship is if we're playing like a bunch of losers, your brand then takes a battering as well. If we look at a brand like Sasol, for example, do they sell more fuel because they sponsor the Springboks? They don't even know themselves. But what they do know is that what they want to do is show that they're a proudly South African company by sponsoring a national team. And I think that has a much broader impact on the brand and the way people feel about it.
What is the trick to keeping these advertisements fresh and new and exciting and engaging?
Well, I think that a lot of the best advertising is related to news. It's related to what's happening around you in the world. So as things change, as things happen, you take that and you incorporate it into your ads. It's what people are talking about in the street, on Facebook, on Twitter. It's what they're reading in newspapers. You take that and you incorporate it into your latest ads, so it has a freshness. So you have to be on the curve or ahead of the curve. If you're behind the curve, you just look silly.
But whether brands are using sport, a good South African tune, or simply tapping into the unique personality of South Africa, there can be no doubt that South Africa sells and will continue to do so for a long time to come.